So I decided to do something a bit different for this video and show some of my own projects that I'm working on. My name is Matthew. I'm from BC, Canada. I started using Blender for 3D in late 98 or early 99. I graduated Vancouver Film School for 3D animation and visual effects in 2005, and I went on to work at EA Sports on the NBA Live series as a character artist. I've only ever worked on one professional game, but I still do 3D and game stuff as a hobby. After EA, I got a job teaching guitar at a music store, where I taught guitar and bass and coached and played in bands we would form out of the students. I did that job for 13 years and quit in December of 2018 and took some time off. Then the world happened, and I'm currently living with family and no job, so I'm working on personal art projects and trying to get something on the go for myself. This is one of those projects I'm going to show you here today. This is my family home that I grew up in. I had my first birthday there, and it was home off and on my whole life, even into adulthood. I was raised by my grandparents, and they honestly made the most wonderful home for everyone in the family. They were really amazing people who always put family first. They were really good musicians as well. Unfortunately, both of them have passed on. They sold their home about 15 years ago now, and when they sold it in 2006, I made a trip up to say a last goodbye to the place, as I was living in another town at the time. I had the idea to take some photographic reference and thought one day I might try to build a 3D game out of the place. The only thing is, at the time I knew nothing about cameras or photography other than being able to turn it on and take a picture, and I wasn't able to turn off the flash for some reason, which is horrible if you want to use what you took as a texture in a 3D program. On top of that, the weekend I was able to make it up was super rainy, so all of the outdoor surfaces I would want to make textures from were all wet, also not good for texturing. So I ended up with the flash on the outside, rain on the inside, not to mention all the lens distortion. Off to a good start. So here I am 15 years later, and I'm finally getting around to it. Talk about procrastination. It's a huge project to undertake, and it'll take quite a while and a lot more work to get it finished. I still have a literal ton of items to model and texture yet. Furniture, music equipment, knickknacks, you name it, I have to make it. Right now some of the textures are just temporary stand-ins, or haven't had the tiling painted out yet, like the lawn or the driveway. I'll also be adding the trees and plants and grass inside the Unreal Engine. That's why there are none in Blender right now as I'm building the scene. The mountains surrounding the house are from using the Blender GIS plugin to get Google satellite data, so the placement of the house and the neighborhood are satellite accurate in position between the mountains. I've also whiteboxed in the neighbors' houses. The closest ones will have more facade detail, but the further houses will be mostly drawn out by the trees in the neighborhood. Also, the player can only walk around the yard and inside the house, so you can't go on the road or over to the neighbors or anything. I have a lot of lofty goals for this project, so I made myself a couple of version targets. Version 1.0 will be basic completion with the day and night cycle. A player can walk around and look around as well as open and close doors. I want the TV in the house to play stuff like family home movies as well as things like intro to some of my grandparents' favorite TV shows. I also want to make their music equipment in the jam room trigger a menu where you can play some of the music that they recorded back in the 90s and early 2000s, as well as the family band they had back in the 70s. Version 1.5 will incorporate a dynamic weather system for sunny days, rain, snow, etc., and a season system that is aware of the real-world date and time and dress the set accordingly. I'll have different set dressings for holidays, like decorations for Christmas and Halloween, etc. And version 2.0 will include VR capability as well as ray tracing. I'll also add a multiplayer function with a customizable character creator menu so family members or friends can meet up and hang out together at the house. My current computer isn't capable of all that, so I'll hopefully be able to upgrade my computer in the future. I'm currently on a NVIDIA 980M, so some of it like VR and ray tracing will have to wait for the future. This project will already be pretty beefy for this card by the time 1.0 will be finished. So that's the plan anyway. I'm sure most people wouldn't really be interested in playing this game. I'm creating it mostly for family and friends who either lived there or visited often, and we all have a loving attachment to the place and my grandparents. Especially later in life when we're all old, we can revisit the place in a way with VR. I've started to port things out of Blender and into UE4, just background stuff to get things set up for when the main assets are complete in Blender. But there's still a ton of work to do in Blender yet, but as they get completed I can just add them to the Unreal version. And since it'll be a simple walking simulator, I don't have to do too much as far as programming like enemies or health bars and such. Nice and simple, just walk around, look around, and open things. Anyways, I'll stop the video here. If you guys want me to do updates on this or more videos on other projects, let me know. I still plan to talk about and review some of my favorite games, but I thought I'd include some things like this since it's game related. So thanks for checking this one out, and I'll see you in the next one.